What's up? What's up, guys? I'm sorry, it's a habit. It's been raining here all day, and I've got some use out of my wife's little umbrella. She let me borrow. Uh, yeah, it's been raining. Steve is still working on a CNC project, so his mic's muted for the moment. Uh, actually, I think he has stepped away for a minute, but he'll be back shortly. You set that down over here to the side. Whew. So how y'all been? Oh, there he is. He does have his mic muted currently because he's actually, brace yourself, guys. He's actually using the CNC today. So he has a CNC project running. It was a little noisy, not too bad. As we all know, CNC bits interacting with the material can be a little noisy at times, but that's the Fox Alien Masuder 3S being commanded by G Sender there. Me and Steve both been trying out G Sender with these smaller CNCs, and I know I'm loving it. It seems he's liking it too because he's still using it. So there you go. But yeah, I'm guessing when the job completes, maybe he'll unmute his microphone. But just want to check in with everybody. I am on the verge of trying to come up with a laser file to cut out a boat big enough to house two of every animal, because it has been raining over here since like midnight last night. It hadn't quit. My place never has standing water because I live basically on an ancient sandbar, and my place is just basically sand and gravel. But I went to get some tea just now, and I got a crock full of water because water is actually standing in my driveway, which is unheard of. So I don't know how many inches of rain we've had, but it's been a lot of rain. I know I see some of you guys said that y'all are getting it too, especially down in Louisiana and places like that. I'm pretty sure everybody from Louisiana, Mississippi, all the way up to where I am are probably getting a little taste of this rain today as well. Yeah, Rob, I know. I was shocked when I logged in, and he jumped into the lobby, and I could hear the CNC running in the background, and I thought I had left one running, and then I realized it was Steve. So
you're very funny.
Did you get it done?
Yep.
Cool. Can we look at it, or is it still got some more passes to do?
Nope. I just got to pop it out of the tabs.
Oh, okay. Mark said I'm gonna need a really big 3D printer. Yeah, I don't know that plywood would work real well. I guess if I use beeswax, maybe I can make plywood work. But yeah, it is storming. I don't know if y'all can hear it, but this tin roof, it is really coming down. So yeah. So let's see what we got going on here. Anybody got any questions? Oh, by the way, you can see it in Steve's video. The We Create Pros have arrived, and let's say 48 hours or so of playing with the machine. And I will say that between the first Vision, the We Create 40 watt, and this machine, this one is definitely an improvement. They've definitely improved the machines. Light burn compatibility so far, I haven't really had any major issues with this. The only thing that I found with light burn is if for some reason, it's something in the G code, I'm assuming, if you turn the blue laser on when framing, it seems to be causing some kind of conflict in the codes and makes it think you want it to expand and get bigger or something. So I've had to turn that off. But other than that, the machines work really well. I have been doing lots of testing and little small projects and stuff with it today, and so far it's doing a really good job. So you see stuff like that. That's pretty good. Got this little boob here. This is that pre-finished plywood that I got that's really kind of stubborn, and it's doing a really good job of cutting it. So far, so good. It's been performing pretty well. So I'm gonna give it a few days, keep playing with it, do some projects with it. I may even do some cutting boards on it because I got some cutting boards I need to get done. And the last We Create that I had actually did a really good job on bamboo. So I may knock out some bamboo cutting boards on it. What's up, James Richards from Ozark, Alabama, not too far from me. Down near the Gulf. David Allen, the guy with a really good name, said the storm came through East Texas where he was last night. It's pretty bad. So far, all we've had is a little bit of thunder early this morning and a whole lot of rain. It was this morning the alarms and weather alert kept going off. I think there was a couple of rotational clouds that went through south of us, but I don't know that it ever turned into a full-blown tornado. But there was some, minor wind damage and stuff associated with it. But so far here, it's just been distant thunder and a lot of rain. What's up, Jason? How are you, sir? Mr. Ryan Ballard. Yeah, Steve's running a C2C, Ryan. That's what I said. I at first I thought I had left one running, but then when I realized it was Steve. So yeah, he is running one today. We give you a hard time about that.
Guys are so funny.
Yeah. So what you got going on? I've been talking this whole time. I've been talking for like 7 minutes straight.
You act like that's some sort of record for you or something.
Oh, funny man.
Yeah, no. Just like you say, playing around with the Fox Alien, and also the We Create, playing with some files. So here's a fun thing of dealing with importing. Now I didn't check the dimensions before starting these because I was just trying to throw them in there, but ran the same file, same SVG file dropped into vcarve versus We Create, and I need to go back and look at the base file to see which one's right, if either.
Something forgot to scale.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, basically the same material too. Some not quite quarter inch plywood.
Yeah.
This one done with the 1/8 inch bit.
So actually, the one on the right in your right hand, I'm assuming was done on CNC.
Yeah. That's this is with I was testing out the 1/8 inch downcut end mill that we got for free from IDC at Workbench Con.
Yeah.
And then the We Create 45. This was I think this is some of that material you sent home with me, and running it at 100% power and I think 11 millimeters a second.
Yeah, it sounds
one
about
pass
right.
with full air on. So, and everything dropped out. There's nothing held on, so that's good. I think on my test I could do 12 and maybe 13 but the 13 created a few little nubs. Yeah. So
this is the pre-finished. I don't know that I've ran the unfinished on this one yet. I've been running just miscellaneous materials, just trying to run it and get some hours on it to see how it's going to perform.
That's the We Create test array.
Yeah.
So the 13 barely came through, but so 11 or 12 would probably work, but 11 seems to be consistently working for me.
Yeah, there's the unfinished in We Create software. Actually, right
there. That's the better one. 13, 12, 11. That's the same. That's the stuff. So
yeah, this is that thing. This is the unfinished 4.7 right here. Now I did sand this afterwards because at first when I looked at it, the way the scorch and the way the little bit of smoke had stuck to it, it gave it the illusion that the squares were skewed. And I was like, why is my square skewed? And then I sanded it off. And Klein was here when I did it. And me and him both were like, them squares ain't square. And so I was going to sand them off, get the dust off of it, and then take my calipers and measure them. And when I sanded it, I'm like, okay, now they look square. So it was something to do with the direction of the way that the smoke was marking the material. It just gave it that illusion of the top being kind of off to the side for some reason.
Yeah. Cool.
But then I tried some shading on that material, doing like multiple colors, and it worked out pretty good. Considering that's just that straight up birch. That's some of that
Mhm.
scrap I sent you.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
so far so good with it. Where are you at with it so far compared to the Vision and the Vision 2? I guess it would be.
well, I only have it. I should probably drag it out. I still have the original Vision, the 20 watt. That's the only one I had experience with them. I didn't get their upgraded. What was it, the 40 or
40.
whatever? So they have made some improvements on it. It just in the build, they made some adjustments. I know one of the big complaints was that air hose was rubbing and splitting. That seems to be resolved. The camera calibration seems to be actually pretty good. The Wi-Fi, it actually works on a normal Wi-Fi network. That was a big one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been kind of going through some of the things. Now it's still in their software, just has the unidirectional engraving, which is a little bit of a disappointment. So it's only engraving when it goes left to right, and then it, kind of like an old typewriter for those who know what those are. You'd type and then you'd hit the carriage back and then you'd type another line instead of, going back and forth. So that's still a disappointment. The exhaust port, it's still that small 3-inch. I've been running it on a smoke purifier, which is I can just smell now. It's starting to give out. It's doing okay, but I'm seeing the smoke kind of build up and then get sucked in through the module. So it's like, come on, if you got to be able to extract that air better, because that's when people run into the dirty modules and the dirty lenses and such. So that's still a disappointment, but I think they actually have made some improvements to this one. Now I haven't taken a look at the process to remove the module and clean it, because that was another one of the big issues. And this one, if it's the same, is going to be worse, because the original one, they had you tip it on the side to remove the stuff without removing the actual module from the gantry. And for cleaning on something that you might need to do, depending on what you're doing, after a couple jobs, to at least once a day to, however often. That older one is bad enough to tip up. This one's bigger, longer.
It's a little heftier.
So I haven't looked at their cleaning modules and such, or cleaning instructions for the module. Maybe they've done something different, and I need to pull the other one back out, kind of do a visual comparison. But
have you taken the chrome tray out of yours and put it back?
I had a hard time getting it installed. Yeah, that's still, I feel like it's almost deeper underneath this one.
What it is the work area is further back, I think, but the chrome tray, is only like a half inch bigger than the work area. So you literally have to lift the machine to push it. There is a 3D print file in my brain to do me like a little handle extension so that I'll be able to push it all the way back under there without lifting the machine, because I had some, from doing all this testing, I had a bunch of little squares in there. I wanted to get them out because it looked like it was a fire hazard. And so when I went to get the crumb tray out, it going back with it, it had that gap in the back. And I was like, okay, so that was a little oversight on their part. I think they could have fixed that,
well,
pretty easy.
And I agree, but here's my counterpoint. I've got the craft sitting next to it. Well, actually, it's a laptop stand right now because I ran out of room. You can't remove the craft honeycomb without taking the module off, and there's no tray.
Well, so I got mine off, but I had to let it all the way to the back and then raise the Z-axis all the way up.
Okay, I don't know that I've tried that, but yeah, I mean it's
yeah.
I like, it's a bit of a hassle to get that tray out of there, or the honeycomb out, and then there's no tray, so you gotta either shop back it out or do something. So the
thing with the chrome tray
is going to be a little bit of an issue.
Yeah, I think the chrome tray is going to be an easy fix with like a little 3D print file, or maybe even just a laser file, just to add a little handle to it, kind of. But yeah, so far though, all together, the camera, I will tell you, the camera in Lightburn did not disappoint. I did the calibration in Lightburn. I did have to tape the lights up. I looked everywhere for a switch to cut them off to see if they'd snuck one in there somewhere. They didn't. So I used my old painter's tape trick to calibrate the camera in Lightburn, but once I got it calibrated, it is dead on. Like, I mean, dead on, because of the way the machine works, because it lowers the top down to the material.
Now, have you tested it kind of in the extents, like out in the corners?
Yeah, I did the full. I did, like, when you do the calibration, I went back and made a circle and cut out all those little bullseyes, and then did the update overlay. And yeah, it when I first calibrated it, it was a little bit off, but I had used the old Lightburn configuration file from the 40 watt that I had, and there was a little bit of an adjustment in that file that I had to remove. Once I removed that, it's dead on now. So far so good with the camera.
I just realized a bit of a safety issue with my iPhone.
Uh-oh.
You know how they have the MagSafe back?
Yeah. Don't be jumping on an airplane like that.
Yeah, I went to grab my phone. I'm like, what is on the back? Yeah, I haven't tested the We Create in Lightburn. You've mentioned you have, so that's going to be next, because that was another thing that early on when you had yours pre-release. When I got mine, it was already released, but the Lightburn support was not great. So I'm hoping for better now that they've had a lot of time to work with the original one, and this one you seem to be enjoying it, and that's another interesting one to for a lot of people. They might be more comfortable with Lightburn, although I don't know that this laser, the market is for people who are comfortable with Lightburn.
Yeah,
I think this is
more
of like
my
entry.
thing is if you wanting a Lightburn friendly, like, okay, so I got this set up. I'm just going to show you. I'm going to run this. I can't remember which material that is. So I'm going to turn this down to. I'll turn it down to 12 just to make sure, because I've been playing with a bunch of different materials. So I've got that set up at 12 millimeters per second. And I'm going to go ahead and run that. Now I do have I've been running my 4-inch external fan with it. So I may get a little more residual smoke without that fan running, because I turned it off before the live started. But yeah, so get that to cut. Now, it is not for the faint of heart when it comes to quiet. It's not quiet when it's running. Now, you can't hear it when it's idle, but when you send the job, it's all wide open. But there's my updating the overlay there, and you can see the cut. So it's very, very, very close. Like, as far as cameras go, that's really, really good, in my opinion. Like I can go in here and dial in, scrap. Now, as far as, like I said, like I've always said, if I'm trying to mark something for a job, I'm going to use a jig or do some type of manipulation so that I know that I'm going to hit dead center. But yeah, as far as aiming ability and stuff like that with this camera, though, it does a really good job. And all I did, like I said, was set it and kind of used it. I tested it a little bit, used it for a few minutes, and then I just been running the crap out of this machine. So, and you can see it's pretty handy. So far, it is working as well as any other Lightburn camera, and it wasn't. I didn't have to add a camera or anything like that. I mean, this is the one that come in the machine. So, my material flipped over when it cut it. The Air Assist got it. All right, well, you get the idea. Air Assist made it flip over in the hole. What you doing, Fluff? But yeah, there we go. But it's so far so good. No major complaints. I'm with you. The fan, it needs to be bigger. We went from a 20 watt module to a 45 watt module. More power equals more smoke. We should have got more fan. But like I said, with the 4-inch assist fan out the back, it's working really well. But I would not want to run it just now. It's still got smoke in it because the fan cut off a little early, and it's trying to push it all the way to the exit. So the assist fan, in my opinion, is going to be necessary if you're going more than like 2 or 3 feet.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, mine, it feels like mine runs a long time after the cut.
It stays on for a while.
Now I've been, like I say, I've been running it through a one of those small smoke extractor units, and as usual, they work okay for about the first
hour and a half.
Yeah, it's hard to say because I'm using it intermittently, but I've been using it on the 2 machines, so I probably have about 3 or 4 hours on it, and I'm starting to smell the stuff coming through it, which sadly is kind of typical of most of these. They're all very similar. The AP2 is the first one that's kind of that smaller size that's different. It seems a little more effective from X Tool, but it's also close to $1,000.
I think say it's exponentially more expensive.
Yeah.
Venting is the way to go if you can. I mean, that's just I can't find. I've got another one of those little filters from Ashmer. I got it in, and I found a few engineering flaws in the design because they basically took an 8-inch square and reduced it down to like a 3-inch circle because they just packed everything in there so tight that it can't use the whole surface. But yeah, they I don't think there is a good option that's affordable. I think in order to really get some serious results, you're gonna have to spend some money with that kind of thing, or do some kind of DIY like water filtration system or something like that.
I mean, the problem with that is you still got to have the air volume moving through.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I still think these are okay for like if you're an outdoor event, it's going to greatly cut down on the intensity of it. So there's a place for them, but I wouldn't want to use it in here. The 9 months out of the year that we're in winter.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Because like I said, about an hour and a half in, and that's when you start like, okay, let me go pull that first layer out and go ahead and hit it with the air hose. Because you start smelling it. I was running that one in here the other day, and I could smell it the whole time. What's up, Mr. Cody? Jack, I'm concerned about the random razors myself. I'm a little concerned about Jeff's welfare in case he comes out there.
He can't come out here. No, I was using this earlier. I was just trying to clean a sticker off a window and set it on my bench here so I wouldn't set it somewhere else.
Yeah. Mr. Cody is in the house, guys. If you haven't tried the Jenny bits, of course, me and Steve both use Jenny bits. We use other bits also, but once you get through snapping all the bits, you're going to snap. I strongly recommend the Jenny bits. I have snapped quite a few of them also. And if anybody tells you can't break them, you can. I mean, I can verify you can break them. But it is hard. It is hard to break unless you do something dumb, which
well, and the
happened to me a lot lately.
The 1/8-inch ones, especially on some of these smaller CNCs that are a little more rigid, and you might be tempted to push them a little harder. Those are the ones where I actually put it in order to have a few extra on hand because I was going through my bundle. I was like, oh, I only have a couple of downtown Jennies and I think only one mini Jenny. So I went ahead and ordered a few spares, just knowing I was going to be running this in the 40/40 a little bit more the next little while. So yeah. And then a friend of mine up in Washington, I think state of Washington, or no, Idaho. I was another one of these people I met through forums back when I bought my original laser. He and I got connected because we both were kind of new to the lasers and both were into RC stuff. And he just recently found a Onefinity on Marketplace and picked it up.
Cool.
And of course it came with a bunch of accessories and such, but I was like, hey, well, when you get done learning that thing, head on over to Cody and get yourself some good bits. You'll be happy. So
yeah, I've got matter of fact, I've got the 1/8-inch bit still in my machine. I haven't cut anything on it lately. I've been using it more as a table this week than I have anything because I've had so many machines coming in. Yes, I still have the Monport Mega in the shop, but if you were thinking about running out and purchasing that machine, may want to tap the brakes just a little bit for a little while and get some bugs worked out. Mechanically speaking, I like the machine. Software wise, we got some work to do. It's basically, it reminds me of the We Create when they first came out with it and said, "Yo, yeah, it'll work with Lightburn." That's what the Mega reminds me of. I like Monport. Mechanically, I like the machine. I've managed to get it to where I can run it in Lightburn and do a really good job with it. But the average user is not going to want to have to take the techniques that I'm having to use. You're not going to want to do that. It's too much math involved. I have to use a calculator because the autofocus and stuff like that is not really getting it in Lightburn. But I keep messaging them and giving them a chance to adjust firmwares and stuff, and we'll see how it goes. But it's taking up some valuable real estate right now, so they need to hurry.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a CO2. I mean, I could use it, I guess. It's just once you set it for the material, like if I set it for 3 millimeters, it's okay because I've got a bunch of macros created, but the camera does not work in Lightburn, and that really bothers me if the camera don't work and I ain't got nothing else to go with it, especially with it being way over there because I got it's a frame button, go over there, adjust, come back, hit the front, it's just a little pain.
See, and I think that's going to be a little bit of a problem moving forward with some of these kind of unique features on lasers. Is if you are a type of person who likes using Lightburn and wants to use Lightburn, I think you're going to be frustrated getting these lasers that are built around their specialty software. If the laser isn't built specifically with Lightburn being the controller, I think for the person who has grown to like Lightburn, they're going to be frustrated with these lasers. So I think that's something people that are looking at CO2s might want to take into consideration with a lot of these.
Yes, if it says smart, laser, that means use our software. Don't use Lightburn.
Yeah, you're going to have to be happy with using their software then to really get good use out of it.
Yeah, but in their software, which is their software, still buggy. Everything mostly works, but I just don't like their software. And it's nothing against them. I don't like Atom Stack software. I don't like. I've learned to use XCS, but it's not my favorite. I don't like We Create software. I'm equal opportunity. I like Lightburn. That's just me. So
yeah. So Jason's asking, what software do we use for video editing? Premiere and Premiere Rush, because I have access to the Adobe software. If I didn't have access to that, I'd be looking at, I don't know.
Well, I use Adobe too, and I have access because they take money out of my bank account every month. Yeah, so it hurts.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's one of those things that and that's a little more expensive. So you better have a reason to maybe either not care about your money or a way to monetize it and recoup it. But it's one of those things where it's kind of like using Lightburn. You're going to get a lot of extra help. It's very popular. It's going to be more supported. So
yeah. Now, when I first started out, I was using iPad Pro with iMovie. Like that was what I used up until I got to where I could justify the expense of getting Premiere Rush. That's when I went ahead, and it got to where I was tired. Editing on an iPad got to where it was just a little harder on me than what I wanted. I wanted to be able to do it with a mouse, and that's when I moved over to Adobe. And at the time, because I was doing a lot with my drone and drone photography and stuff like that, I had Photoshop already, so I just had to add a little more to what I was paying to get access to the software. And then once I started doing it and the channel grew a little bit, I've just kind of decided that that's one of those softwares, kind of like my bookkeeping software, that I'm going to pay it as long as I can. So,
yeah, and I use iMovie on various Macintosh computers, not so much iPad. I've done some editing on an iPhone with that, but it's okay. But like Ryan said, it's limited. Some of the things I didn't like about it was, you were limited to a certain number of. I think you could only have like one overlay at a time, and the titles were kind of fixed. You couldn't kind of move them around on screen, things like that. So it's some of the minor things. I mean, the core of your video, as long as you've got good audio and good video to work with, you can edit a decent movie through it. Now, if you want to go way back to when I started doing stuff with my model airplane stuff back in getting way too close to 20 years ago, I was using Windows Movie Maker.
Yeah, I used that when I first started doing drone stuff too.
So, it's nice having access to to some other software, but there again, jumping into Premiere from like iMovie, it's kind of like going from XCS to Lightroom. You're like, what are all these buttons, these menus, and how do I just do the basic functions? So
yes. If you're new to editing, iMovie is really simple. I'll tell you another one. If you've got like a DJI camera, DJI's little editing app's not terrible. GoPro's got a little app that they use. It's not terrible. But like I said, like you were talking about, as you advance and you start wanting to do different cuts and fades and transitions and all that kind of stuff, you're gonna quickly decide that you need a little more software. That's what.
Yeah,
that's what
for a lot of short videos, I use the GoPro app because I can just drop the apps in there. It will automatically kind of say, "Hey, here's some cool scenes." Kind of throw it together, and it takes a lot of the time out of it. I think it's like $10 a year to have access to all of its features. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Jennifer's asking, just got here, so it may have been asked, saw your video about the We Create thoughts. I don't know if you were here in time, Jennifer, to hear what we discussed about the We Create or not. If you didn't, let us know and we can go back through it. I'm sure somebody else will ask before we're done here. But yeah, it's I think as far as the We Create machines goes, so far I have fewer complaints with this one than I did the other two. So that's progress. And the things that I do have that I'm calling complaints are so far nothing's like a game changer, deal breaker. It's just little things that kind of bug me a little bit. And it's not like it's something that We Create has a monopoly on. Just like me and Steve talked about with these exhaust fans, everybody is using this. They're using the same exhaust fan, whether it's a 10 watt or a 40 watt. And that's kind of the more smoke you're generating in a certain amount of time, the more capabilities you need to be able to move that smoke. And so, I think they need to upgrade the fan. And that's not something that's just affects We Create. That affects every company that I've dealt with so far.
Oh yeah.
I think OhmTech's the only one that I can honestly say they sent a machine that had a fan built into it, but then they send you the 6-inch inline fan with a remote control and everything. I mean, so I can't complain about them because that fan is massive.
Well, Rolly Automation, at least with theirs, put a 4-inch fan on there, and you can take that out and you have a nice 4-inch port. I mean, that was one of the smartest things they did was get a larger airport on there. So
yeah, I forgot about Rolly. they did step it up to the 4.
Yep. Dale was asking, looking to get into 3D printing, can't find any bad reviews. What do you suggest? Leaning towards the Bamboo A1. Both of us have videos on the A1. I've got both the A1 Mini and the A1. They are very nice printers to get started with. You are buying into a closed environment, though. You got to understand that you're going to be at the whim of them with controlling the printer. There are some slicers that work with it, but they really want you to use their software and their features. And so for some people who like to tinker or are concerned about the cloud nature of their app and such like that, those are kind of things to maybe look into, that concern side. But if you want something that's works really well out of the box and is not too expensive, the A1 is a real nice printer for that.
Yes.
So you can check out both of our channels. We've got videos on them.
Yeah, the A1 to me, the bamboo with the A1 especially, like we've referred to things as the iPhone of. To me, they are like the iPhone of 3D printing. If you want to like speed your machine up and tweak it and constantly adjust on it and stuff like that, you don't want to get a Bamboo. Like you said, they're kind of locked down to where you can't really do a whole lot of that. But if you just want something where when you hit the print button, it prints successfully, I've had really good luck. The only issues that I will warn you about, if you're not printing like really a lot to where, you open a roll of filament, put it in the machine, and it's used up in a week or two, you're going to want to make sure you get some plan as to how you're going to dry out your filament. Because all of the issues that I have had, I was able to trace them back to my filament got a little moist, absorbed a little bit too much moisture inside the house. And once I swapped the filament out or dried it and put it back in there, my problems went away. So that's the only thing that I think you need to, when you're getting the A1, go ahead and come up with a plan to how you're going to keep it dry or dry it as you go. Whether that's, you've got a food dehydrator or whatever the case may be, however you're going to do it, just know that needs to be there. You need to have a plan in place for that, unless you're going to be burning through the filament so fast that it can't get wet.
Or you take it off and put it back in bags or something. But
yeah,
you're right.
It would still eventually, I think, become a problem with the moisture, because you're never going to get all the moisture out of that bag. But yeah, so far with my little Creality 2-roll dryer that I've got and using Ziploc bags, I've been able to come up with a regimen that works, and I haven't had any problems since then. So,
now, to be fair, of course, the house is pretty dry right now in winter. I had my AMS sitting with 4 rolls on it for probably longer than I'd like to admit without using them. And used it the other day. My son was designing something, and I was like, well, we'll give it a shot, but it may fail and I'll have to dry that. But it actually worked pretty well. So it's going to depend a little bit on your environment and the filament and such. But
yeah, here in Alabama, you got to watch for that.
Well, get into the summertime, I'm sure I'd have a different experience here. Brian, April snow brings smaller tulips. That's the problem. Is that
I've never seen April.
April showers brings May flowers. Well, the problem here is we get warm and the bulb plants start going, oh, it's spring and I should grow, and all of a sudden then we get back into this cold rain snow cycle, and then they go, what the heck? So a bunch of them die off, and so that we were kind of noticing that today, because it did finally. Of course, it's probably going to dip down again, but it got into the 60s today again, and was starting to just show hints of greening up here a little bit. But April, we've actually had May snow up here, and the average, the latest frost date up here, I think, is like the second week of May. So,
wow. Yeah, we were almost in the 90s. I think we come really close to hitting 90s this past week here.
Well, we had one day, I think it was last week, where it got up almost to 80, and there were some record highs for that. But it's a roller coaster of seasons here. Yeah,
806. Yeah, I dry it. I don't use a vacuum packer, because that's just another consumable, having to cut the vacuum bags off of it every time I go to open it. I use the really big Ziploc bags, but also the silica packs that come with the filament when you get it. I keep those, and I drop one of those in the Ziploc with it after I've dried it and close it. That way, any moisture that was in the air in the bag when I closed it, that little silica pack will draw that moisture out. And when I dry the filaments, I also dry those little packs. So I just keep even the lasers, when the lasers come with those big bags of them, I throw them over there in a box and keep them and use them with the filament.
Corbread's asking, do you see a problem running a 195 CFM fan into a 215 CFM fan for an exhaust? Those are pretty close. They're probably not going to be an issue. But anytime you have a fan and a fan, your
bottleneck probably going to be at the lower.
One or the other is going to create a bottleneck. So like a slow spinning fan, actually, so if you have a faster airflow hitting a slower moving fan, it's like having a disc, just a big wall. It fights it. As a matter of fact, in my model aircraft stuff with the electric motors, I'll set a low idle so that it doesn't freewheel, but it'll act like a brake when I'm like diving down, because it's actually fighting against the airflow. So you want to try to remove that if at all possible, or match and balance them. So the other part of that, anytime you're pushing air versus pulling air, you run the higher risk of any sort of leak in your ventilation system. It's going to push it out of, rather than if it's pulling it, it's going to be sucking in extra fresh air that way. So if you can disable it and remove it, that's great. But other than that, you want to try to pair them up so that they're truly working as closely in tandem. So
yeah, I would put the larger of the two near the exit, and
Yeah, I have
use the
that in the second.
vacuum on it, and then use the exhaust from the other one closer to the machine. Because you're
Yep.
going to lose. You're going to lose, especially if you're using the hose like I've got that's got the veins in it and the little spirals. You're going to lose some velocity and some airflow just by the nature of the tubing. So,
Yep.
so I think I would, like I said, I prefer, like Steve said, because if you get a pinhole and your fan is sucking where the pinhole is at, then you never know it because you just lose a little bit of vacuum in the enclosure. But if you get a pinhole on the high pressure side, you're going to know it because your room's going to slowly get filled with smoke. So, and I've had that, especially with cats. When I first started doing this with those little the foil tubes that were made out of like aluminum foil, cat claws can rip right through those things. And next thing you know, you turn on a fan and it just blasts smoke out from under your enclosure.
Yep. Cajun Custom Creation is saying, currently have a F1 Ultra with RA2 Pro Deluxe. To start, I'm looking to get another laser, looking at one laser XRF. What are your thoughts? My thoughts are it looks like a nice laser, but I haven't seen too many of them. And I've actually, I think I joined one of their groups and Facebook, and I occasionally poke my head in there and lurk a little bit. And some people are kind of saying, hey, I was supposed to get one of the earlier ones. I'm waiting on my order. So I don't know. I haven't done a lot of looking, but when I start seeing rumblings about delayed orders and such, I guess I'd ask some questions. What are their delivery times?
That's the one that is remarkably like the Thunder, right? It borrows a lot of things from the
Yeah, may or may
Thunderbolt.
not be made by them. And it
Yeah,
has the optional.
yeah. I've seen a
Regular
lot of them. I've seen a
liquid
lot
cooled.
of them like just do like I've seen a lot of one videos on them, and I've seen a lot of people that had them that never did a video on them. But that's all I've saw. I haven't seen anybody that's using one with any regularity or anything like that. So
Yeah.
I can't
Now the
say.
XRF is nice because that's got that RF tube on it, and so
Yeah,
that's going to be, like you say, it's going to be closer to the Thunderbolt with the
yeah.
RF tube, and
Oh,
that's a nice
I've bought
option.
it. I've been waiting for that email, but I hadn't got it. But yeah, that's because I actually looked at that one when I was looking, because I've been trying to figure out what kind of CO2 I could get to have a CO2 and just kind of move some of my stuff like the bamboo cutting boards and the tumbler jobs to that machine. And so far, I haven't found the perfect machine for me yet. I've got some good machines, but I have a very strict criteria of what I want that machine to be. So, but the thing with that one is you've got to have a riser, kind of like the P2, whereas the Thunderbolt has the base that it has the moving bed, kind of like Enclosure Zilla, but that one laser, it actually has more of a P2 type riser that has like the little slots like you have in your oven. So that's kind of been a little bit of a hang up point for me.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to jump forward. So if we've missed your question, here's a good one. Could you please tell me the kind of material will be better for cut? Plywood, MDF, or question mark?
It depends.
It's going to depend. A lot of, and this is a thing with plywood, and I kind of got in one of these. I gotta be careful some of the discussions I get into on some of these Facebook groups. Someone had asked, I can't, I think it was in the ACMR. They were complaining that it says it can cut 12 millimeter material and he can't cut like 9 millimeter plywood. I was like, well, first off, let's be real about what this diode laser can cut. 12 millimeters is like half inch.
Mm-hmm.
It better be some pretty soft, consistent wood, so,
If
and then when you start talking about plywood, plywood is a full spectrum.
Yes. And you get the junk.
Yeah. Plywood. My screen keeps pausing, so I don't know what's going on my end, but sorry. Some plywood's junk, some plywood's great. They have multiple layers. They're made with different materials. Some have a thin veneer with an MDF core. Some are solid wood with plugs and biscuits and football-shaped holes and things. So MDF by its nature is basically resin infused sawdust. So MDF is generally going to be more difficult. There are some though that are more laser friendly. But so again, not all MDFs are created equal. I personally prefer the more natural material, so I'm going to go more towards plywood. That being said, if you can get a quality MDF that's laser friendly, it is going to be very consistent, easier to cut, and more predictable. Whereas plywood, it's going to have variations in glue, variations in density of material, and such like that. So
MDF is going to have less risk of warping because there's no grain. It's so random that like there's not enough molecular structure lined up to cause it to warp. It's just like soup basically that was frozen. So that's the one thing I would say with MDF. If you're needing something that has to remain flat, MDF would be a better bet. Like I said, plywood, you know as well as I, you can go buy plywood and go back the next week and buy the same plywood off the same shelf and get two different results, because plywood, the quality control on plywood, most plywood is very, very thin. And as long as you go into it knowing that, hey, I might buy 10 sheets of plywood and end up with some coils because of, knots, or like you're talking about those little footballs with the clay packed around them that you can't burn with a laser for nothing. Just as long as you're willing to accept that, that's what I do. I use a cheaper grade material. Well, it was cheaper. It's not now, but this stuff right here, it's not all that expensive. And occasionally I get something like this little streak right here in it. Now I don't get the biscuits like what you're talking about, but occasionally I get like right here, I got a little knot in there, but this is actual wood veneered plywood. So,
yeah. So, I mean, and when you get higher quality wood, sometimes they, instead of filling it with that putty, they will cut out the bad spots in that more football shape. They'll put a real wood plug in there, but there's still glue around it. I could probably dig some up out of some Baltic birch, but
next time I see one, I'll put it out for you.
but there again, so it's going to depend on the quality of the plywood you buy, but it's also going to depend on the quality of the MDF you buy. This true flat material is actually MDF core with a thin veneer, but the MDF core is such that it's very laser friendly, so it's easier to cut with and very consistent. So you're almost never going to run into a problem cutting this. Whereas even paying for nice quality Baltic birch plywood, they have those plugs in there, which will cause a variation in your cut quality. So
yeah, that's the difference between manufactured material and natural material. The manufactured, you're going to get a more consistent product because it's manufactured. Just like with acrylics and stuff like that, you should have more consistency with acrylics than you would if you grabbed a piece of cedar picket fence or something, because you can get a picket, one of those boards for a cedar fence, and part of the material you may be able to rip through it at 20 millimeters a second, but then you hit a knot and now you can't cut through it with nothing you got. That happens. Because natural materials are going to vary in density, they're going to vary in the material, makeup, how it's built. The grain's going to, change directions. So, yeah, the manufactured materials are going to ensure better consistency. But me personally, I like the look of, like, say, oak or poplar, or some of the natural woods when you can, but it's not always feasible.
Well, and also certain MDFs have their resins can have formaldehyde in them, which isn't good, especially when you vaporize it. And I just don't. It's with those resins, they get stickier edges, and so yeah, that's why I tend to shy away from it.
Yep.
So you can answer this one for Monty.
Yeah, basically the X tool has EOL'd. It is end of life. The D1 anyway. They're like the people that had bought them, they were going to maintain support for them, for the duration of their warranties or whatnot. But yeah, basically it's if you got one, it's you better hang on to it if you like it, because they're not going to be making any more of them. I've still got my original 10-watt D1. A friend of mine has my 20-watt D1, but they were really good machines. And I've had a lot of people asking me, and you might have a take on this. They're like, if I wanted a D1-ish machine, something comparable to the D1 as far as open frame, like the situation was, I've got an X-Tool D1, I've got the enclosure, the air assist pump, I've got all this stuff, but I want to upgrade. I've been telling folks that either the longer B1, if you have enough room for that bigger chassis, I think is a good alternative. Like if you're trying to get away from the D1, but you want to recycle your enclosure and your peripherals, the longer would be a good one. Like especially if you're trying to get above 20 watts, or the ASMR P2, because the ASMR P2 is a really, really good machine with that 30-watt module also. And you could still, because the ASMR P2 is almost the exact same size as an X-Tool D1. You could still use the RA2 Pro if you had it with it. You could still use your peripherals with that machine without having to just waste it all, because it's hard to sell an enclosure for an X-Tool D1 now, because not most people that wanted them have them. So that's why a lot of people have been asking me, hey, I've got a 10-watt, X-Tool D1 and I want to upgrade, but now that they don't sell, things for the D1, what should I do? And the P2, the ASMR P2 and the longer, 30-watt, 40-watt, whichever you choose, in my opinion, are probably the two of the closest machines to that one. Now, AtomStack makes some good machines also, but most of those now are getting into the bigger format. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that X4, the 40, A40 Pro, I haven't got it, but it might be the same.
So yeah, it's going to depend on if they have a real tight enclosure to the X tool or not. Like you mentioned, the longer is not going to fit in the same enclosure as an X tool D1 if it's like form fitting. And then some of the others like SculptFun and AtomStack, they're similar size, but they're taller. So depending on the height of your enclosure, that may be an issue. But yeah, I would, the ASMR P2 is a good one. The Algo laser might also be one that fits closely to that form factor.
It's
Otherwise,
very close.
I'm trying. That's kind of the biggest concern I would have. There's a lot of options if you've got some flexibility in your enclosure space.
Yes.
But yeah, I think as far as a budget laser, that's going to be an upgrade from an X tool if enclosure isn't an issue, but longer, it's probably a pretty good, pretty big bang for the buck.
Yeah, the air assist from X-Tool D1 will fit right on a longer B1 because I've done it. I know that works. The ASMR, it has automatic air assist, which so does the longer B1. So you're going to get some upgrades, but like I said, the ASMR P2, I think, is the closest as far as if you set them side by side, it would be the closest to the form factor of the D1.
Cool.
The Algo laser is very similar, but as far as I know, they only got a 20-watt. So I don't know if somebody was wanting to go up to a 30 or a 40. I don't know if that would be an option. I'd have to look. They may have came out with a 30. They just had to send it to me.
I think they have a dual 2040. Yeah, They have a Delta. In their Delta they have a 40. Maybe not in their Alpha.
The Alpha moves really fast, like the white space scan on it, and the moving speeds is really, really fast on it. But so is the ASMR P2. That thing's fast.
Mm-hmm. Sharon's asking, with the MK2 XW, my smoke comes up around the front edges and towards the right. Would having the vent do better if I put it in the front right instead of the right back or on the back? Hey, no. It's probably gonna. I mean, they have a lot of those venting up front. They're trying to move the smoke towards the back. But yeah, I notice on mine too that if I don't have my my fan spun up. I've got a 6-inch fan pulling on that. If I don't have that spun up, it definitely wraps around before fully evacuating. So I would just look at your exhaust setup, try to make it as short as you can. Maybe if you're using any of that kind of spiral tubed stuff, if you can get any straight sections of get some aluminum or steel pipe or even PVC or something, that'll help improve it. But I wouldn't move it up front because all the vents, the inlets are up front. So you really want to try to encourage that to move from the front to back.
Yep. It wouldn't be a bad idea to add an assist fan toward the exit, in my opinion. I think I would either add an assist fan or just add a bigger fan and remove the factory one, because those little computer fans, in the way that they work, they weren't really designed, in my opinion, for volume. And that's where I think a lot of these machines fall short, is the fans are high velocity fans, but they're just not, the way they're built, the little thin props on them aren't really made for high volume. So,
yeah. And if you have a good fan, to like an exhaust fan that can pull, you can remove that fan from the MK2 series of lasers, and that'll actually help improve it. So
yes,
might want to look at that if you have an external inline fan already.
Don's asking, how about finding replacement parts like belts and limit switches for the X Tool D1 Pro? The belts are going to be just, I would imagine, well, those are round belts, though. Those are closed belts. Those aren't straight chopped ones, are they?
I don't remember. Not all of them are.
Yeah, I think the X Tool is actually a loop. I don't think it's a straight line. But as far as the width of the belts, typically that's going to be kind of a generic thing. If it's a loop belt, then yeah, you may have to find that exact diameter as far as the loop. But and that's why I like some of these machines like the Atom Stacks and some of the other ones where it's just a straight run. So if you've got a roll of that belt, you just cut you off a piece and replace it.
So sometimes they also look like a loop, but they're actually just connected in one spot. So I've had that before. That was like on I think it was on the IKEA or the Aether, where it looked like it was a loop.
It had the little clips in the middle on the gantry.
But even that, you should be able to find there. It's not uncommon to find those. So on the belting, I was just trying to see if this one has it. Usually they have like the specs of it, so it'll have the width and then the pitch of the teeth and then the number of teeth per inch or per whatever. And then you can usually go and find the same stuff. Just looking at this, and it happens to not the stuff that came from Fox Alien, but look at the belts. It usually has like it's a series of numbers, which will tell you that information, and then you can look that up. Limit switches, those are inductive ones. I don't remember looking to see if those are one-offs or if they're sourced somewhere. There are a few places that do offer some replacement parts, and there are some places that will offer a whole control kit replacement. So there are some options, but yeah, unfortunately, in some of these cases, you're going to be at the whim of the aftermarket gray used market.
Yeah. David's asking, when engraving on a material that has grain, should the grain go left or right or up and down? And the answer is, in my opinion, it depends. And that's also kind of a personal preference. As far as a laser goes, if it's got too heavy of a grain, it isn't going to matter which way you go. You're going to see it through the engrave regardless. You can cross hatch sometimes and get a different look. You can get darker looks, especially if you, like a lot of times, if I've got a material that doesn't shade real well so that I can't just change the power and speed and get a different shade, I'll widen the lines per inch so that basically there's a gap between the lines as it's engraving to get like a lighter color. And in those cases, sometimes the grain, does make a difference, but you're burning wood and the grain's going to burn differently because, like we said, natural materials are not consistent all the way through. So as you burn that material, the harder parts of the grain are going to be less affected by the laser than the softer parts of the grain. So I thought you had a show and tell. I was waiting on you to show it.
No.
Okay. See, it's just kind of hard to see in that one, but you can actually see. Well, yeah, you know, we've said that on that camera, but you can see the lines in the engraving, and you can kind of see the grain kind of bleeding through, even on this little piece of plywood. But that's just wood. I mean, you're gonna deal with that. If you don't want to see grain, use MDF. That's another plus with MDF is there is no grain. So if you're doing like a photorealistic type thing, you don't have to worry about the grain messing it up.
Yeah, I usually also like to have the laser engraving with the grain versus across it. It tends to be a little more even, but that's assuming your grain is fairly straight versus wavy. So
yeah, Jason's asking about lenses for the D1, and unless you've quit in the past week or two, you have those, right? The cover lens.
I'm out of stock right now. I gotta refill them. But yeah, if you're talking about the lens cover that goes on the end versus the actual focus lens, I do have some plain glass ones of those. Sell them in 8-packs, and they're the same for a lot of those diode lasers. There's still some. I haven't checked the We Create, this latest one, but even those, they have kind of that 14 millimeter brass end cap, and on the inside is a slightly smaller piece of glass. So they're usually replaceable. Sometimes they're glued in with silicone or something. You got to pop that out, but then you can drop a new one in. So yeah, just check out my channel and or my Etsy shop. It's got some information about those. Yeah.
And those are a consumable. You will need to keep some extras on hand, because the moment that you don't have an extra one on hand, you'll crack one for some reason, and then you'll be. Barbara's asking, do either of you have I guess a Creality Falcon Pro, or would you
recommend one?
Oh, okay. I've had the original Falcon. I think the Pro is the one that they've got. It's got the cover on it now, right? So I think it's the same machine. It's just got a roof.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, the Pro has the enclosure.
Yeah, I think all they did is they took and basically tapped some holes and added a top to it, kind of like the A24 or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the only people with Creality, I haven't had a chance to use any of their lasers. I've had some of those annoying like marketing firms, third-party places reach out to me, and they are I don't like dealing with them, because you're not dealing with the company direct, and they're worried about marketing the stuff, not getting good information out about the laser. So
those are the ones that try to like trick you into just basically doing a video and saying good things and nothing bad. Yeah. That Falcon looks, the Falcon 2 Pro, it looks basically to me the same as the Falcon that I had. I think my nephew's got it now. It was a good machine. I think one of the only complaints I had with it was the cover. They fixed it where you couldn't take the cover off of it. So it had that big clunky cover that, only sits like 2 millimeters from the surface of the material. And I don't like that, but some people do. But now that they've added the cover so that it's not as big of a safety thing for them, they may have changed that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think their latest one, the one we saw at CES, is that one didn't have a cover because it was all fully enclosed. There's no way to take it out of there. So, but I think the Pro or whatever was, like you said, it was kind of like they fit an enclosure on top of it, and so it still was kind of that, like there's just a small window on the front of the module, I think.
Yeah.
But,
is it the Falcon A1? I think that's the one they had it.
Yeah.
At in Vegas because it was like a box. I think this is it right here.
Yep, that's what we saw.
Yeah, that one was built a little differently. Yeah, that don't look like a terrible machine. I mean, but I'm like you, I haven't heard from Creality in a long time. I had a Creality Falcon, the original Falcon, then I had the Falcon 2. And then, like, I don't know, maybe they didn't like one of my videos.
Well, I don't know. Like I said, I've only heard from the marketer, that third-party marketers, and I just don't want to work with them on that. So
yeah, what's that?
And they're still focused. Their primary focus still seems to be 3D printing because, like, if you remember at CES, they had the laser kind of on the back side of their booth in the little corner. You almost missed it. So I don't know that it's their primary focus is with those lasers, but they're a bigger company with the 3D printing.
Jason, as long as you have your exhaust set up to where you're getting all that smoke out of there, keeping it away from the laser head, you run air assist. Like the more you run air assist, the better, in my opinion. And you keep a somewhat decent cleaning regimen, and you don't let water get in your air assist lines. Those things will last for a while. But if you ever mess up and have an issue with air in the air assist, or like Klein had an issue of his enclosure wasn't venting properly, like it was just like filling it with smoke, and the machine was sitting in there just regurgitating the smoke constantly. He went through like 3 lenses in a week, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And so he brought the machine down here, and of course, as soon as I saw it with this black film like all over the chassis of the machine, I'm like, what was it in a house fire or what? And that's when we realized that his exhaust was not up to snuff. So we had to make some modifications to the exhaust on his enclosure, and then got that fixed. But that's one of the biggest things that I see people doing is they're not venting the machines enough. If you look in there and it looks like something's on fire, you're not venting enough. There should not be a hurricane of smoke inside your enclosure. If there is, there's a problem. You're going to see some smoke, but you should be able to see it and see it going toward the exit and disappearing. When you quit engraving, if it takes longer than like 10 to 15 seconds for the smoke to clear in your enclosure, you got a problem. So, and I see that a lot. These people, they'll take pictures of their machine, and you can tell that it's just swimming in smoke. And it's not good for them. Because the nature of a heat sink, which is in every module that we use, has heat sinks built into it. And the nature of that thing is it has little tiny fins to increase the surface area at which the aluminum comes in contact with air. Well, if you take a layer of smoke and soot and put on that, basically it acts as like you painted it, which is more or less kind of insulating it from being able to exchange heat the way that it was designed to do. So that's not what you want. You want that heat sink to be able to exchange heat as it was designed, and you want to have enough air flowing through it for it to be able to do so. And if you do anything to change those two, it's not going to cool the way it was designed. Just my 2 cents on that one. I can't stand it.
Jeff's asking a similar question with an OhmTech 60 watt CO2. Just bought an external inline fan. Should I remove the included fan attached to the chassis? I probably would. I'm actually planning on doing that with this 50 watt OhmTech that I've got. It has just kind of one of those large 6-inch PC style fans. I have it still in there, even though I've hooked up to my external venting, but I do plan on doing a couple of modifications to that machine. One, I'm going to try to bypass the internal air pump and hook it up to shop air, and then we're going to look at that port and the fan and see if we can just run it off of my normal system. So like I said, a lot of those, if you're sizing your inline fan right to pull the air out, anything in the way of that's probably just going to act like a sail and restrict your airflow.
Yeah. If you are going to leave it in there, in my opinion, it needs to be running. You don't want it just sitting there stagnant. at least if it's running, it's not hurting as bad as if it's acting like a wind turbine generator or something.
I mean, it depends. If it's turning too slow, it's actually going to be causing more restriction than if it was just freewheeling in the air.
Yeah.
Refer back to my earlier comment about
I still think
slow
if it's
speed on
sitting in there sitting still, though, if it's not turning at all, if it's just
well, it's not gonna sit
if the
still.
air is having to turn it, I think at that point it's dragging power off the other fan. So
if it's
just
sitting still,
turn
if
one
it's
on. If it doesn't work, turn them both on.
if it's sitting still, you don't have a good enough airflow moving through there. Your external vent moving that much air to evacuate your laser should move that fan. But yeah, I would just get it out of there. It's just going to be a restrictor for most. A lot of topics about venting today, but Sharon's her setup is at 4-inch inline fan. The window vent is about 4 inches higher, maybe 6 inches to the left of the MK2. Should I put it closer to the machine or window vent? I would put the fan, your inline fan, as close to the window as possible, and then I would try to make your piping as straight as possible. If you have real sharp bends, it'd actually be better if you could make it longer but straighter. Otherwise, just make as smooth of sweeping bends as possible to make that connection.
It almost sounds like that her machine's like right in front of that window, so it doesn't sound like she's going very far with it. So,
well, I've seen a lot of people where they've got the window, they've got the machine, but they've got this. The air comes out and it takes a hard 90 and then another hard 90, and each 90-degree bend slows that air down so much.
You're losing some force.
So yeah, I would try to smooth that out as best you can.
But if you think about it though, if you've only got to go 2 foot, I mean, in order to make those smooth turns, you'd have to have basically your hose run across the room and
well, so, I mean, not quite, but I mean, it's a 90-degree bend can add almost like 10 feet of pipe.
Yeah,
the equivalent of it. So it's best to really make that as smooth as possible. Your fan's going to work better, and you won't have it as backed up as much. Yeah. There's an interesting question from Joe. Is there something you wish you had known when getting started that you know now in regards to operating a laser and different materials, but also in regards to the business? Yeah. So, I mean, for me, that goes back a ways. I would have stocked up on more material when it was cheaper.
Yeah.
But operating a laser, I mean, a lot of it is kind of what we've been talking about. You know, a lot of problems arise with your laser when you don't have proper airflow moving through it. You know, a lot of people, we've seen people design enclosures and they're like, okay, I'm going to seal this thing up. Well, you can't pull a vacuum on it. You got to have airflow through there. So sometimes even going back to Sharon's problem, part of the problem might just, you got to let a little more air in. Now the Rolly is pretty good about their air inlet sizing, so I don't know that's
it
necessarily
typically uses that little pass through piece as an air inlet. So,
yeah. But on some lasers, depending on if they have safety switches or not, I've actually cracked the enclosure just to let a little more airflow in, and all of a sudden you see that smoke just disappears right away. So
yeah.
Both your air exhaust as well as your air assist can be huge things. And these little air pumps that come with a lot of lasers, they're okay, but you'd be amazed at how much better your laser will work with proper air assist as well as proper air evacuation.
Yes, because Monport dropped the ball on the air assist on the Mega. And I hooked shop air up to it the other day and tested it with my shop air running about 5 PSI to the last measurable location. It was at about 5 PSI, and you wouldn't believe the difference it made in not only the cleanliness of the cut, but the ability to cut thicker materials. The air assist in this Mega is either, I don't know if there's something wrong with mine, or maybe I missed something, but I've tried to get to the pump, because same thing like you were saying, I'm thinking I'm going to go in there, snatch that pump out, put a relay in, drill a hole, put me a little quick connect on there, and I'm going to hook it up to Shop Air because it would work so much better that way. And that's one of the things with the Mega. That's why you haven't seen the video yet, is because there's some issues that I want to discuss with Monport to see if they're going to fix those, because the air assist on it basically is non-existent. Like, it doesn't work. Like, it literally, I actually feels like it's sucking on the air assist instead of blowing. Like, it's that minimal of amount of air.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe they, did they wire the pump wrong? Is it running backwards? I mean, I don't know. But it is definitely not helping the cut, because I left there, all I did was unplug their little hose, and then I ran me a hose and I just put it through the door so that I could hook it to my Shop Air. It cut much better with my Shop Air than it did with what they put in there. So yeah, there's a balance.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, the Reno, I can tell, is working. But that's another one. I'd love to bypass the stock pump. Well, I mean, the same thing X-Tool did it on the P2 to the P2S. They doubled the airflow on the pump.
Yeah, take their pump out and drop a Adam stack pump in there.
Yeah, I'd love to on a lot of these. Anytime you can just add external air and have a little more variability and a little more control over it, you'd be amazed at how much better the laser would be. So
maybe you can add Shop Air as your cut air, and then use the other one that's kind of weak as just a constant air. Kind of like the ASMR, the P3. The P3 has that low flow that you can turn it on and it stays on all the time, and then it turns on high when you go to cut. Maybe that's something. Maybe you can do that too. That'd be a cool upgrade.
Well, I've seen some do it. Some of them have like a dual relay, or they'll have a bypass relay where there's constant air just at a low pressure. And then when the relay kicks in, it switches the valve to the high pressure line. So you still have always on air just light for when engraving and such. But then when you want it for cutting, they'll do that. So I've seen it done a couple of ways like that. But
yeah, you can do a regulated bypass around your solenoid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Burn Carve Prince asking, been out of the loop for week 3. Fear of sounding a broken record. Did we ever find out what was under the secret green screen cloth?
Man, dude, I've been out of the loop.
It's one of these.
Steve's got one right there behind him. Yeah, mine's not here anymore. Klein came by and stole it. He dropped off the ASMR P3 and took my craft. But yeah, it was the Adam Stack Craft Burn Carve print. I did a video. Actually, I did 2 videos on it, I think. And then Steve's got one coming out. It's basically an enclosed dual beam laser where it's got a 10 watt and then like 1.2 watt IR in the same module. The unique thing is that you can actually fire both of them at the same time during an engrave. Don't ask me what all the uses for that are. The only real use that I found was on anodized material. You can get a bit of a different look because you can get the white and silver coloring in the engrave. Other than that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the benefit of it is, but it's cool.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard, David Allen. Guy with a good name.
So yeah, mine will be. I've been working with it a bit. I did run in. So speaking of that dual beam, it's a 3-mode switch. It's a button on the front, or there's a macro that you can use in Lightburn to make the change. And then the button has an LED ring on it that tells you the status of what mode it's in, whether it's in blue light, IR, or combined. I've been working with mine and playing around with it in the blue phase, which is its default one. But when I wanted to start playing with the IR, I noticed, my button's not lighting up. So just a small thing from Adam Stack. I got in touch with them. They said, sorry, we'll send you one out right away. I've already looked at it. It looks to be fairly easy to swap that out. So it's in the mail. I've been tracking it. So hopefully I'll see that maybe this week. And then I'll be able to kind of wrap up my testing. So that, unfortunately, that one's just kind of, it's waiting for me, because you can go into the console and still see which mode it is, but that's just real. It's kind of a pain.
Yeah, that visual indicator's very useful.
Yeah, the visual indicator's kind of, I would say, key to it. But so So I'll have my thoughts on that one here, hopefully in a couple weeks. Definitely before the end of April. But also working with the We Create as well now is the other new laser in the shop. So
yes, and we both have one of those behind us.
Yeah, but that was the green cloak that was there for a while.
Yes. And I just got mine really early, so it sat over there for quite a while.
AXT Woodcraft just put together a soft stop 10-inch contract with 52-inch fence. Ooh. If you do not need all that extension, don't do it. It'll dominate your shop, especially if you're in your garage. Yeah, I have just the 34-inch fence on mine.
Yeah, that becomes a centerpiece at that point.
This in of itself it's not bad. There's only a very few times when I wish I could cut off a longer piece, but usually at that point I've got the track saw or the circular saw to break it down, and then I'll just maybe trim off the other side or something. But yeah, that's a hefty. It definitely becomes the centerpiece of your. I mean, this kind of is. It's not quite center, but my table saw.
If I get me a bigger shop one day, maybe I can get one. But I'm gonna be honest with you, if I can muster up the money to build my bigger shop, I probably won't be able to afford a saw stop. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I'm not going to be able to afford to build it and to put it in.
So, I mean, this was one of those nice things that, I had one of those Menards special portable table saws for a while and realized very quickly when I was doing actual woodworking, it was tough to work with. And then stepping it up to, I bought a used rigid kind of hybrid saw, a little more contractor style, and used that for quite a while. It was really nice, but got my CNC machine busy making all those airplane stands and other stuff. And that started to, the table saw was one of those things I knew I wanted to upgrade. And my wife was kind of like, I would like you to keep your fingers. And if the boys ever come out to do stuff with you, I'd like them to keep their fingers. So because of those two things, the income was going to pay for it. And the safety feature and the fact that it's still a nice saw were kind of motivating factors there. But yeah, that was a hefty check at Rockler.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I could get one, I would buy it like today and put it in my shop. When you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, they've got this thing on the wall that they stand the plywood up in it, and they can just like rip it off and like cut it to size for you. That's really all I need a table saw for. So if I had that thing, it would take up a lot less floor space than a table saw, because I could use a bigger table saw, but like for the past 6 months, the most stuff that I have done that would have been easier with a table saw is breaking down plywood. Me and Klein broke down 5 sheets of plywood today because he's working on a job and needed some and all that. So we had to go outside on sawhorses and get my sheetrock square and in my skill saw and break down plywood. So if I had that thing from Home Depot, man, I could just I could break my plywood down quick and it wouldn't take up that much room. So I may have to create me one of those or make me one of those.
Yeah. So, I mean, it depends on how you use it. I actually got rid of my compound miter saw because I do everything on the table saw and or with my track saw. So it depends on how you use it. A lot of saws you can do something with one that you can replicate with the other. But for me, the table saw was more important than because the compound miter saw was literally just for breaking down material. And every time I wanted to do that, there was stuff sitting on the bench that I had to move. So.
Yeah. So apparently it's called a panel saw. Yeah. So that's what I need. I need one of those in my new shop.
No, you just need a track saw. A panel saw that's a one-trick wonder, and they're you got to
see. I will tell you this: Tim has one that looks like that at his place. It looks like that machine that they use at Home Depot, but his has got like a scratcher on it instead of a blade. So he gets acrylic in 4x8 sheets and then stands it in this thing and clamps it and runs this thing down through there, and it scratches it. And then all you do is you grab the top of the acrylic and bend it, and it it snaps and it's perfectly cut in half. And you can sit there and break down your acrylic into whatever size sheets that you need it with this thing. And it doesn't make any dust. It doesn't create chips. I mean, it's just quiet. So that thing's pretty neat. I don't know where he got that from. He's had it for quite a while, but yeah, it's pretty neat because it basically just scratches the acrylic and then it snaps. But I've got to concentrate on getting a shop before I can worry about what goes in it. If I just had somewhere to store some stuff right now, it'd be a big help. Because I've got lumber and stuff taking up valuable space over there that I need to put stuff.
So Gray's asking, have I ever landed the plane amoeba on a lake? So that plane actually goes back to when I was actually writing for a magazine called Fly RC. And it was a review plane that I got, and I had to fly it both off of land as well as on air. So here we go. Yeah. I did in fact fly it off of a lake, and these are some of the photos that weren't used in the review. This one actually ended up being the cover shot for that month's magazine, which was kind of cool. But and it's always important to have a retrieval boat, so that's why that's down there. So
retrieval boat? What do you go out there and hook it and drag it back to you?
I mean, if you, yeah, it's either that or swim or, bring a bigger boat. But, but yeah, fun look at my, some of my previous lives. Fun stuff. I don't, that magazine closed up shop a while ago. And so at that point, I haven't done a whole lot of review stuff. At least for airplanes. Questions there. How's your back?
It's I mean, the back seems to be okay, but it's like my ailment keeps moving around. It goes from my knee to my back to my hip to my knee to my back, my hip. I think it's all because everything's just not like my walk is not correct yet because of this knee thing. But the past week or two, my darn hip's been like hurting me. I don't know. I'm falling apart, guys. I don't know that I'm gonna make it to 50. I mean, I know I only got like a couple of months, but I don't know that I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna have a wheel gonna run off on me over here. But yeah, it's back's doing a lot better. Like the pain in my leg that I was having through my sciatic nerve, that's gone, which is a godsend in itself. But now I've got this awkward like hip, lower back, something another going on that I don't know. I'm just trying to take it easy and hoping that it goes away within the next few weeks. So we'll see.
Well, let's hope you make it to 50.
I hope I do. I mean, it's not that far away. I'd like to.
Jared's asking, is there much difference between the old white True Flat and the new white True Flat? I bought some of the old white True Flat. They had them at 75% off at KJP in Canada. I'd have to look at it. I know they have they have actually two different styles of white style in their new packs. They have a more of like a whiteboard, kind of a glossy style, and Clark used that in his calendar. They also have a primered, very flat, ready for paint white. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they have like an actual, if there's a difference between those and then their original. I have to go back and look at my.
As far as the
both.
Yeah, as far as the core, I've got some of those too, and I've played around with them. As far as the core material, it cuts the same speeds cut it as far as engraving and cutting and everything. The only difference is the primered stuff kind of has like a satin finish, I guess you could say, like a low gloss, almost like a flat finish because it's primer. And the other is really shiny, like a backsplash or a dry erase board. Now I will tell you the dry erase white, that white version 2 stuff, like it cleans up really easy. Whereas the other white would kind of like, you had to kind of work it in a little bit because it had a little more porous surface. The 2.0 stuff is really slick, and so it wipes down a lot easier. That's the only big difference, other than just the appearance, is it does wipe down a little easier. It wipes down, like I said, just like a dry erase board, because that's basically what it is. But I used some of it the other day in that video I did about the calendar, and it still cuts good. Speaking of which, Megan's asking, where do you purchase your wood for the X-Tool P2S? It depends on what you're doing. Me and Steve use like some birch, 1/4-inch birch, 3mm birch, but we also use like True Flat, which is an MDF cord like material that is specifically made for laser engraving. It's really it's really easy to use, easy to clean up, works really well so far, and it comes in 12 by 20 sheets that fit the P2, a lot of the desktop lasers. It fits them really well. So it depends on what the project is. And like sometimes I'll get 1/4-inch poplar or 1/4-inch oak from the big box store and use it to make things, because I like doing like real wood sometimes. Lance, his machine came with the Rotoboss 2.0. It's the really, really nice Rotoboss, like the $1,400 one. But yeah, I just used it the other day, training his employees how to use it.
Phaser Pilot 1, how can I troubleshoot absolute coordinates? Repeated jobs don't line up, but they do using current position. It depends on where your laser is going back to after the job's done. A lot of them like to maybe go back to home, or if you're rehoming it after that, there can be an issue with it homing slightly differently. So what I know, both Clack and I have talked about this a little in the past. We actually usually send it to a park location that doesn't it goes to a corner, but not quite to the corner. So mine will be like 10 millimeters off of the back left. That way it knows to move there. And as long as you don't touch it, get it out of whack, it then knows when you start the job again, okay, I need to move back. If you have it come and rehome, there's always a chance that it's going to touch off those limit switches. And in theory, they should be rock solid and home exactly the same. But some of them, depending on if they have the little buttons or they have the kind of metal flappers, or if they're slightly loose or something, they can home slightly off. The other thing I've seen is, and this was happening initially on my A24, is I would send it to park, but there was some binding or some pushing on some cables, and so it would park, but then it would have kind of a mechanical, the cables would push it back out a little bit. So I would double check to see, is your home triggering it, or wherever its park location, is that maybe moving to that and then through something else just moving it off slightly. It can be frustrating to troubleshoot that. But a lot of times it's one or the other. It's either rehoming incorrectly, or something is just slightly pushing it off.
Yeah, it's going to be some type of mechanical inconsistency more than likely. I like Steve said, make sure that wherever it goes to, if you don't have it set to go to a park location, make sure it's not binding or anything's pushing on it, or some of these enclosures cause pressure. Like when the machine goes to the back, the cabling will be pushing against the inside of the enclosure, and it'll actually act like a spring and move the machine. There's a lot of things that can be causing it. But it is definitely going to be an inconsistency with the homing, or, from cut to cut somehow or another.
Yep.
Okay. Rob's asking, is there a compressor to replace the air assist on a Rolly Lasermatic that is small enough to sit on a table with the laser? The Rolly's actually got a really good air compressor with it. So I would see if I couldn't, unless you're just like against it, I would actually just see if I could fix that one. I'm assuming yours is either messed up or something's happened to it. But either fix that one or just replace that one with one from Rolly, because they've got a pretty good little pump set up. I must say it does have that one does have the little wafer filter though, doesn't it? And if you haven't changed that little filter in there, that could be a problem. And if you didn't change it for long enough, it could be a real big problem. But yeah.
Greg's commenting, I have to make 2 enclosures for my Atom Stack A70 Pro Max and Atom Stack 830 Pro. Should I make the exhaust port 4 inches or 6 inches? If you've got a 6-inch inline fan and 6-inch piping, I would make that exhaust port 6 inches as well. You know,
Bigger's better. You always turn it down.
If you're building a bigger enclosure, you're definitely going to want to be able to move more air through it. So I would definitely go with a 6. But if you don't have a 6-inch fan moving it, then it's not necessarily going to matter. But I would definitely go with a 6-inch fan, 6-inch piping, if at all possible at that size.
Yeah, I started off in my enclosure Zilla with a 4-inch fan, 4-inch tubing, and then when I went up, it got into the 40-watt range. I upgraded the fan to a 6-inch fan just to give me a little more, horsepower, but it's still choked down to that 4-inch tube. But luckily, it only has to go one 90-degree turn and then a straight shot through the wall, and the whole run's only like 4 foot. So it's plenty of fan.
Yep.
But if I ever move this stuff, I am going to go back with 6-inch PVC, and I'm going to 6-inch fan most of my stuff. But I want to put a 6-inch right near the exit, and then have each individual machine basically just pump into that pipe. And I want that pipe to be everywhere.
Did we answer Megan on where to purchase wood for the X-Tool P2?
Yeah, I just touched on, we use a lot of the plywood and the True Flat.
Okay. Yeah. The True Flat, that comes from Canada. We both have some videos on it, but I think if you go to trueflatplywood.com, you can find that. Otherwise, a lot of our stuff we source locally from some hardwood dealers. So if you have one of those around, you might want to check on that. But there are some places online. Woodworker Source is one that people like to use up here they ship all over, but there's, I can never say their name, Uchuch Hardwoods out of Wisconsin.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, I always screwed up. They've got good deals on material as well. So it kind of just depends on what you have in your area. It's always nicer to deal with a local dealer because usually you can get it a little bit cheaper because you're not dealing with shipping and you can get more custom sizes. But if not possible, those are a couple of places.
Mm-hmm.
You got to dig up that site too. But yeah, it's really worth your time looking. If you can find a hardwood dealer or maybe a cabinet supplier, things like that. They generally deal with a variety of plywoods. Worst case scenario is trying to deal with Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards up here because let's get into more builder quality, real rough cabinet grade stuff. And
now I've had some pretty good luck with the maple plywood that I'm getting from Lowe's. They've got some maple, they call it 1/4 inch, but it's of course it's not 1/4 inch. But I've had some pretty good results with it. I bought it to make some name tags for somebody the other day, and it burned really well. Consistent, didn't have a whole lot of the patchwork and stuff on it. Matter of fact, I think that's a piece of it that's in there now. Yeah. Matter of fact.
My closest Lowe's is almost an hour away, and I've tried multiple material from them, and I've not found anything up here that is good.
This is the stuff that I've been getting, and it like I said, it's supposed to be maple, and it does have a maple-ish look. and it burns pretty well. But these were peach shaped name tags for May. I think I made 100 of them, so I bought enough of this stuff to do them with. But this was before. No. This has been since I got this other stuff, but I wanted the maple look. That's what it was.
Now, one that I have had decent luck with, and I think it was last year I did a video with this stuff, is Home Depot has their Pure Bond plywood project panels. They have it in 5/32, which is a little bit thicker than an 1/8, and then 1/4 inch. And then they have multiple species, and they cut it down into what is it? It's 12 by 19 or 20. And then they ship like 10 in a pack, I think. So they can deliver it to your door, and that's another option if you've got nothing else available to you, at least here in the US. So that's something to look at if you want some pre-cut panels that are fairly consistent, and you don't have anything else. But
yeah. Mark, that blonde wood from Home Depot has string or something in it. I think me and Steve both tried some of that, and it's like it's got dental floss in the center of it. Like you can't hardly cut through it. But yeah, that stuff is terrible. It is terrible. I don't know what they were thinking with that stuff. But yeah, me and Steve both, because I think we both were doing like going to the big box store to source some materials, and we just went and grabbed all this random stuff and came back, and like it has some kind of fiber in it that looks like dental floss inside the material.
Yeah.
But this is some of that maple. It like I said, it does a good job, and you can see the burn. See, like it's only 3 layers, but the outside layers, like there's not just like that real thin veneer. It's actually a thicker layer of material, and it doesn't char. This is actually a test I did on the We Create a little while ago, so it does a real good job.
Now I did pick up some at Home Depot the last time I was there. It looks to be a product of Ecuador, and it is a sanded plywood. I haven't tried it yet, but it has what it looks to be a fairly light density core, and then maybe like a 1 millimeter veneer on each side. So I'm gonna try throwing this in a few lasers and see how it works. But yeah, it's frustrating going to those bigger box stores for lasers. Now CNC routers, they tend to chew through it a little bit easier.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, this stuff right here, Rugby Architectural Materials. This stuff is awesome. $22 a sheet for a 4x8,
and that's why you go to an actual hardwood dealer or a cabinet supply maker or things like that. So
yeah, because I know last time you were down here, I sent you back with a bunch of it. I'm curious to see what kind of little projects you can make with it. It's like I said, for what it is and for the price, it serves me well. Matter of fact, this is some of the unfinished. I needed a box to put some of this stuff in with one of these machines. And so I took some of the unfinished and made this box. And I didn't realize how much more dense this stuff is than the other stuff I used to use. But this box weighs twice what the one I used to make out of the Luan weighs. Like it's very robust and heavy. And the other ones I had to be careful with my handles because I'd break the handles. But these handles are much more substantial with this material. So,
well, that's
quite knock that joint together all the way. Oops.
I think that's the stuff you sent me back with because I don't have any of the pre-finished stuff.
Yeah, I didn't have any of the pre-finished cut at the time you were here. So,
but yeah, it's that's the stuff I was testing on the We Create.
Material, it's just got a finish on it. Maybe next trip I can get you some pre-finished.
Yeah. Well, when you have your big retirement party, right?
That's right. Sharon's saying that she sent you an email with a link to purchase a replacement air compressor that Dimitri sent me. It was controlled by the MK2, but it's the same machine per Dimitri. So whoever that was looking for a replacement. Miss Sharon must have already found one. Thank you, Miss Sharon. What up, Ballard? How are you, sir? I think he. Never mind. He's saying hey to somebody else. I was going to say, wasn't he in here earlier?
Yeah. Klondike, that's Sean.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if y'all not checking those guys out, y'all can go check them out. I didn't get to watch their show last night. A friend of mine had a birthday gathering that I had to go to, and so I missed Ryan's live as well as the Rich and them's live. I didn't get to watch either one of them, so I guess I'm catching up to do sometime this week.
Well, yeah, I was kind of in the same boat. Yesterday was Carla's birthday, so I tried not to be busy with other stuff. And then actually now Tuesday is our 25th wedding anniversary as well. So
Ooh, congratulations.
Little distracted this week with stuff, but
Carla is, I'd never realized how impatient of an individual she is, but if she's put up with you for that long, she's pretty patient.
Well, you know, try to treat her better than maybe my friends.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got I got a birthday and anniversary coming up before too long.
Yeah, close to 178 days, huh?
No, that's my birthday is actually in June, so I'm only a couple of months away from that. I'll be hitting the big 50, which will be the last birthday I have before I retire, Steve.
Well, I'm sure you'll miss having birthdays, but
no, I'll still have birthdays. I just won't be working at my job, at my day job. Which I'm not gonna lie. Somebody asked me the other day, they're like, "Are you scared?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know about scared, but it is a major life change because I've been duly employed somewhere since I was 14 years old. I've never went to sleep at night where I didn't have a job to go to. You know what I mean? And I know I'm gonna be working for myself, but it's still different. You know what I mean? It's still, it's different. So there's that little bit of the unknown, I guess, lurking in the background.
Yeah,
we'll see how that goes.
I've been a bit of a masochist because I've always, I got my first job when I guess I had my paper out and other things, but my first like clock in job when I was 15. And it seems like post high school, I've always had a primary job and then something else going. I've never let myself sit still with just, there was one point even in college where I was working 3 jobs for a week. I got up and started one at like 8. I worked 8 to noon, then zipped over to another one to work like 1 to 5. And then like from 5 to 8 for this. I don't know. It was really long days for that week. But yeah, I've had rental properties at my main job. I've had my Flyer C, magazine of Midwest area for that. I've, always had kind of some other side employment thing. And so I don't know.
Yeah, I was the same way. I had at least one part-time, if not 2 part-time jobs pretty much my entire life, along with my full-time job until this got built up. And I got promoted at work, and part of that promotion was I couldn't do another law enforcement related job. And so I had to, basically I could cut grass and do like labor jobs or, do whatever, but I could not do anything that was kind of touched law enforcement. And so the security jobs and stuff like that I had to let those go. And that's when I started really leaning into, my woodworking and running the sawmill, and I was selling wood and, sharpening saw blades for people and all that. And then somebody asked me a question about a sawmill and sharpening blades, and I did a couple of videos about it. And then now here we are. It just kind of snowballed. It was like that little snowball that started on top of the hill, and it just, as it went down, it got bigger. And now there's too many hobbies to keep track of. So
yep. But yeah, so hopefully we'll catch their show next week. Won't be too distracted. If you're not familiar with it, let me see if I can find a link to their the one from last night. It's kind of a fun show because they talk a little bit about what each of them are doing in the shop, but then they share a bunch of other kind of makers videos, and I enjoy it because most weeks I find someone new that I maybe haven't been following, or some video they put out that is kind of cool because it's 3D printing, it's lasers, it's CNC routers, and then sometimes just a random other cool stuff from the internet.
And so, I'll tell you, I learned something the other day watching their show, is that I guess I kind of always took for granted how important having brakes on a forklift was. But apparently having brakes on a forklift is very important from what I gathered from listening to their conversations. So sorry about that, Ryan. I'm sure Sean and him can appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, I've even considered if I was ever, nearby, maybe swinging by and seeing if he needed help bleeding those brakes on that thing so that he could, have brakes on a forklift. But yeah, I haven't got around there yet.
Well, you'll have to do that. So yeah, definitely if you want to be inspired by some other cool videos besides just ours, go check them out, and if you want to check out some cool model train stuff, and also the use of lasers in that, Klondike does a lot of fun stuff. He's got a weekly I think Wednesdays.
It's like coffee with
during the day. Yeah. It's during the mornings on Wednesdays. I
sneak in there sometimes and just sit quietly.
But he likes to randomly go live when he's just out in the shop hanging out as well. So they're in here a lot. We appreciate them. We did we helped them judge their Christmas Christmas ornament, Christmas making event and such. So love to have you go check them out as well. So lots of cool content out there. Don't have to just watch us. We just hope you come back and watch us when we publish something.
Yeah, it's like I said, I think Ryan's working on a CNC project also. I don't know how public all that is. I think it's pretty
the Ranger.
Right now. So he's working on a pretty cool kind of a CNC kit, I guess you could say. That it's way more work than I'm just lazy when it comes to stuff like that. But it's cool that some folks have the ability and the motivation to do such things. Because I don't. I would get so bogged down in all the details that I would just lose interest.
Well, there's always that's why there's everything from carving your own axe out of a stone and making something all the way up to 3D printers. So but yeah. Anyway, we got about 5 minutes left at our normal time.
Yeah, I do have something I want to announce before we go. So, whenever you get a chance.
Well, I was just gonna see what we're doing this week. Like I say, we've got some birthday and anniversary stuff wrapping up, but I'll be working on, trying to get some stuff out on these machines. I've got a few projects that I've been accumulating some stuff for, with to do some stuff with the CO2s as well, and so hopefully won't be as distracted this week and get some of that done and get it out. But I don't want to make any promises because every time I do that, it seems like something comes up. So
yeah, maybe
what you got going?
I do have, and I'm gonna go ahead. This is early. I know it's early, but I'm gonna put it out there so that you guys can't say, "Well, if I'd have known in time." October the 24th of this year. Many of you may be familiar, but that will be about 24 days past this date right here. So I will be a retired fella by like 23 days. May is having one of her events here in town, and I'm going to be helping her with her event, but we're also going to be having a meet and greet after her event wraps up. I'm probably going to do maybe even try to do like a demo with some laser stuff for her people while they're there. I don't know what that looks like yet, but the one thing that we have validated is that there's going to be a meet and greet. May is going to be there. My folks, Jason and Brooke from over at Cog Hill, are going to be there. A couple of other folks here locally that some of you may know if you follow any of the farming channels, or if you keep up with like my family channel, the Clakeley's channel, you may get to know them if you don't already. But we're going to be doing that. I'm going to put that on my calendar here pretty soon, but it'll be like October the 24th. It'll be from like 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And I'm going to, between now and then, I'm going to come up with some stuff to give away. And that's going to be one of those things. And I hate it for you guys that live across the country, so don't give me no grief. But for the ones of you that are reasonably close or are passing through or whatever, I'm going to come up with some prizes to give away. And one of them is probably going to be significant. And then maybe the others might not be as significant. But there's probably going to be a machine being given away. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, oh, somebody, one of Maymay's people or somebody like that is going to wind up winning it or whatever. Well, I'm going to fix it so that you have to pre-register, and I'm going to close registration like the day of the event before the actual meet and greet event happens. That way, if it's somebody that doesn't watch our shows, they're not going to know about it. So it'll be too late to register. And that's the only way I could come up with as far as the laser giveaway. That's the only thing I could come up with to keep it to where it would be our followers that had their name in the pot. Because if there's only 10 of you that managed to show up, that's pretty good odds, if there's 50, the odds get a little bit, less. But yeah, I'm going to find something in this shop that's in my way that I've fulfilled my obligation and all that with. And it's going to get gifted to somebody. So that's going to be pretty cool.
You're going to show up and go, congratulations.
No, it's not going to be something like that. It's going to be one of these machines. I don't know which one yet. There may be something that's coming that I haven't got yet. Another thing that I want to share with everybody that may or may not be a member is, y'all know I got the prototype Cubico, right? It was a prototype. It was way before it was released. There were some things about mine that was going to be different than the ones that were coming or whatever. Well, I have a second Cubico coming that's supposed to be the consumer model. This is going to be the one that everybody's supposed to get so that I can look at it and compare it and see what's better, worse, or whatever. So those are going to work their way into a giveaway somehow, because I've kept the boxes for the original one that I got, and I'm going to keep the box for the one that's coming in. And those are small enough that I can ship them, pretty much anywhere in the country, and it shouldn't break me. I should be able to handle it. That was one of the things that I told everybody was, when I started doing the membership thing, I wanted to make sure that there was a benefit to it. And so I keep that little bit of money there and use it for stuff like sending this stuff out to you guys. So there's going to be some giveaways coming. And we ain't even started talking about Christmas and everything yet. But yeah, there's going to be a couple of giveaways between now and then with the Cubicos. I've also been working on something with Algo Laser with the new Pixie machine that they have, but they went dark on me. I don't know if that's just because they haven't gotten around to it yet or what, but I'm supposed to have a couple of the red Pixies coming also for a giveaway. So me and Steve are still working on this stuff, but it's been a little transitional lately. So
yeah. Yeah, cool. So
Gray, it's going to be at the Jeff State Community College campus in Clanton, but just keep an eye on my Facebook page, and I'll create an event there, and you'll be able to see it there. It will get advertised. Don't worry.
I know for a fact that if you really want to, you can drive from my place to your place within a day. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. But yeah, no, it's a bit of a drive. But yeah, hopefully, next year as you're retired and whatnot, maybe we'll be able to figure out a kind of more of a laser CNC meetup kind of thing. Maybe we can kind of coordinate with a few other people and find a place we can do that and have a fun something to get together with viewers. And
yeah,
and that's the thing. It's like, I mean, I've been looking at some of my stuff too and trying to figure out, is it still shippable in any way? The problem is some of these, especially these newer machines that we create, that's a heck of a box.
Yeah, it's 76 pounds shipped.
Yeah.
So
So, that's
it's
reshipping some of these bigger things are tough, but yeah, when we can find certain other ways, or if we can do, like you were saying, in-person events, to do some of that, definitely want to continue that, but we're working with some places. I've had some conversations with Sculptfun and others about some of their, like you mentioned, everybody seems to be interested in a portable machine they can take somewhere to do some things. And so we've been trying to look at some of those that we can maybe get in here and offer out to our viewers and our members. So, stay tuned. We're working on that, and hopefully we can do more of that.
Yeah, it's like I said, a lot of times, and my biggest problem is just like with the We Create, I've got the box and all the shipping materials kind of stuck in a corner over there in case it has to go back. You know what I mean? But long term, I can't keep that. I don't. I mean, that's like a 2 foot by 2 foot by 3 foot box.
We're
not going to keep that. And so what I typically do is I'll keep them until I feel like I'm out of the woods as far as it having to go back to them. And then I'll send it out to the burn pile and get rid of it. And that's one reason why when I build my shop, I kind of want to have like a living area for my buddy Steve to stay in when he comes down. But above that, I want like a storage area, and that would be where like these boxes and stuff like that could go to live and be out of my way.
Let's be real. You're going to make me sleep up in the storage loft.
No. I'm gonna make you like a either get a couch that lays out, or I'm gonna make one of those cool little beds that like goes into the wall.
Oh, Murphy bed.
Yeah, but I have to make like a 7 foot bed. I don't know where I can get a 7 foot Murphy mattress, so I may have to just
do me a favor. Look up Alaskan King for the bed size, and that should be all right.
Viking King. Yeah, I hear you, big boy. But no, we'll get it down there. But hopefully after I retire. Now I'm probably not coming up there during the winter because you ain't getting me up there and getting me trapped and like lost in the woods with Bigfoot. But hopefully once I get retired, I can start doing a little bit of traveling. I may make my way up to Tennessee here sometime this summer, and if I do, I'm gonna try to hook up with Sam if he'll let me. If he ain't like running from me, hiding from me.
Yeah.
Let's go by and see Sam's print farm or something. But
Gray, the halfway point between Clack's house and my place is literally St. Louis.
The Arches.
Yeah.
Gateway to the West.
I've driven it enough times, and I can tell you that is halfway. So whether it's that or maybe there's someone down in that area, or maybe Clack retired wants to travel up here.
Well, I know Greg over at STL is supposed to be. We're possibly going to go over and visit with him. I am once he gets his new shop constructed or built or whatever. Mm-hmm. He's saying that may be sometime. He's saying before the summer. I think the slab's already down, so that may be a little trip to North Georgia, and I may try to work it out to where like go through North Georgia up to Tennessee and maybe hang out with Sam and go up in Gatlinburg or somewhere and hang out for a week or so, and maybe try to call the whole thing a business trip. If I can work enough visits in, maybe it'll work out for me. But yeah. But I am going to try to use the retirement because I'm not one that's going to like be hanging out on a golf course or just like constantly going somewhere. I like being in my shop. This is what I enjoy, but I also enjoy the going out and meeting people and getting to do things as well. So I'm looking forward to that part.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Jenny says meet me in St. Louis. But yeah, but one thing that I will say, and we haven't really promoted it this live as much, we do have that map. And that map, part of our long-term planning for the map is if we go to a town or a city or whatever in our travels, like when we went to Atlanta or when we went to Vegas or whatever, we can actually go to that map and look and see what kind of a saturation of viewers there is in that area. And because just like when we were in Atlanta, we let you guys know, hey, if you're in the area and you want to go grab some wings or something like that, let us know. Same thing with Las Vegas. that's the kind of stuff we like doing. We enjoy doing that. So if you're not on the map, go put yourself on the map so that when we start moving around, we'll know. Need you to come. Fred said, need you to come to Arizona. We'll meet you at Cadence Manufacturing. You don't want to meet Cody, Steve over there. He'll get you sick.
Hey, now I do need to get back down there because I went down to see Cody and also hang out with my dad, and unfortunately, my dad and I just hung out being sick the whole time. So I do need to get back down there. So that is maybe not clack, but it is a very realistic thing for me to be back down in that area since my dad's down there. So
yeah, and I, like I said, I talked to Brandy, and I told Brandy, the next time I go, I would like to try to get her to go with me. We've been out there together before, but it would be a little bit more fun. Not that Steve's not a good date, but he eats a lot. So, which I got lucky on that trip because they kept bringing him the ticket. So, but yeah, let's see, was it? Yeah, now, Jenny, eventually I do plan on getting me like a little camper and doing a little bit of traveling with my wife, but I've got a kid that's still in school, so right now it's not really in the cards just yet. But I do one day plan to get me a little small camper. AXT says you could always team up with Dragons Engraving. Yeah. There should be a link to the map, Gray, in the description of the video on my channel, and I'm pretty sure it's on Steve's as well. You can view the map, and you can also add yourself to the map as well. But yeah, no, I'm Burncroft print. We're not that like because when I retire, I will still get compensated from the retirement, but it's not going to be 100% what I make now. And I've still got to buy insurance as well because currently my insurance is through my employer. So there's going to be some financial adjustment that's got to be made. And so for right now, Brandy's going to continue her job until we see how that financial adjustment plays out. I'm hoping that if I've got more time to devote to the channel and to doing stuff in the shop, that I can increase revenue to offset it and not negatively impact my finances. But this isn't something I'm doing necessarily to increase my revenue. I'm hoping that it does. I'm hoping that by being able to be in my shop 40 hours a week instead of having to go to my day job, I'm hoping I can grow the channel and get it bigger. Do a few more products and maybe take on a few more customers because I'll have more time. I'm hoping that I can do that, but if I can't, then we're gonna have to come up with a plan B. So for the next few years until my youngest gets out of school, she's gonna keep working. She works for the Chamber of Commerce. I help her a lot with like events and stuff that she does to support other businesses in the area. So she likes her job. It's not that she's dreading going to work or anything. So she's good with it. We've discussed it, and that's kind of what we're looking at. Is she's gonna stay for a little while unless you guys help me build this thing up to where she doesn't she can stay home and I can put her to work and actually make as much money. Then then she might stay home. But y'all gonna have to help me. Y'all gonna have to help promote the shack and get it big enough to where I can afford to do that. Because yeah. Now, Tracy, I'm a 40-hour employee at my day job right now. I'll get that 40 hours back. I'm at the end of the rope. They've pretty much started taking my job away from me and giving it to other people. So I'm a 40-hour employee at my day job right now. My job is basically to train people to replace me. So I'll get that 40 hours back. But yes, I still spend probably 40 hours a week out here also. So, but I'm going to continue to work probably more than what I am now for the first few years to try to get it spun up and try to get, the money situation to where that it's not scary. Because it is a little scary taking that pay cut and having to pay insurance and all that. But as long as my stove covers and cutting boards keep selling, I guess I'll be all right. All right. So 9 minutes over. Y'all got me talking. But yeah, y'all
Well,
be on the lookout for that event. It will be in October, so y'all got plenty of time. But I just want to give you guys a heads up as early as I could. So I'll be adding that in the next few days. I've got some other channels that we're going to be co-hosting or whatever. So I've got to bring them in as well. So yeah.
But yeah, we also have the laser engraving community group on Facebook, and so that's another great place that we'll be sharing some of those links and also a way to connect, and maybe that's a topic for that group is like even if it's not both of us together, maybe there's some regional if people are interested in a Midwest, preferably closer to Minnesota than not.
I get retired.
We can make it
I'll
happen.
come up there. I get retired.
All right, but I mean, even in the meantime, if people wanted to get together, I'd be willing to try to work that out in some way, because it'd also be a great opportunity for me to get rid of some of these things that are no longer in use around here.
Y'all could meet up at Menards and get a pizza.
Nope.
Go out to the parking lot, get you a grill, cook you one of them Menards pizzas on the grill.
Buffalo Wild Wings is literally like in the parking lot of Menards, Home Depot. I mean, we don't need to food poison ourselves with a trip to Menards when there's perfectly good wings.
See, he's saying a Wisconsin, Minnesota meetup would be great. You might need to orchestrate that. Get up with some folks up there.
Well, let the kick the idea around and see if we can figure out a space that works.
Y'all can like virtual me in. We can Zoom meet me in or something.
Nah, we got that covered. It's right here.
Yeah, but anyway, guys, I appreciate it. We do appreciate everybody, and like I said, stay tuned for hopefully some stuff coming down the pipe here pretty soon. I kind of got slammed with a couple of machines that they don't really give you timelines when they reach out, because with We Create, what was it, back when we were in Vegas is when they hit us up about these, and then Monport. Whenever the first mention of the Mega was made is when Monport asked me about that, and I agreed to both of them and didn't really know when they were going to show up, and then they show up in the same week. So that does kind of bog you down. But like I said, I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, I don't want to review machines. I don't want to review machines." Well, I do want to review machines. 2 reasons. One, I like new toys. I like cool stuff, technology. I like taking things apart, seeing what makes it tick. 2, if I don't test these machines, you guys are going to have to spend your money without, that opinion. Not that my opinion is any better than anybody else's, but the one thing that I can guarantee is I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to tell you, hey, you need to get my link and go buy this machine. I don't push that. I try to tell you what I think about the machine. And if you decide you want to buy it, then you can show me some courtesy and use an affiliate link. You don't gotta, but it is nice when I get those. So that's the 2 reasons. Is 1, it's cool. What grown man wouldn't like to play with a 45-watt laser? I mean, and then like I said, secondly, I want to be kind of a test of this equipment for you guys. And I like having Steve test the same machines. That way you get 2 sets of eyes. And I can tell you the 2 of us are not going to lie to you. And, with anything, stuff can happen. But I think that's very community service based of us to try out these machines instead of making people blindly wander in there and purchase them. And that's just me. And it does get to be a headache sometimes. Most of the companies that me and Steve deal with generally have learned that we have our guidelines, and that's how we're going to do it. So it's not as big of a headache as it used to be. Like you were talking about those resellers that we used to deal with that we don't deal with anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, anyway. I think we try to find a balance on that. But very much so is that, people come in here and ask us, what do you think about this laser? And if we haven't had experience with it, we're making our best guess off of the other information we've been able to glean from it. So we try to, like Clack says, try to keep it. I mean, I'll tell them, one of the things they often say is like, well, we want you to talk about this, this, and this. I said, okay, well, tell me what you say your laser does. I'm going to test it. And if it doesn't do that, much as, oh, it cuts through 12 millimeter material. Well, on a lot of mine, I've said, it doesn't quite. This is about the maximum, but yeah, we try to keep it focused on the raw details so that you can make a better informed decision and such. So, however, I do have to fess up. I'm okay. My screen just blanked out of me. I may have lied earlier, so I want to come clean.
What'd you lie about?
Well, I probably won't bring that one. I'm going to bring the travel size clack.
Yeah.
But no. But no, I mean, if we ever do get over salesy or whatnot, please just constructively tell us, hey, that, you know.
Yeah. So, Lance, are you? I'm guessing. Have you had a bad experience, Lance? Like some of the machines, actually, the first machine they came out with, there were some things that I told them specifically about in advance of their release that they didn't fix. And that and me and you expressed that with the new guy that we talked to in Vegas. We expressed the fact that we told them about some issues with the very first machine, and they assured us that they were going to correct those. And some of them, I guess they did. Maybe some of them they didn't. But that's but that's something that we really, I mean, we can't see that coming. You know what I mean? If a company works well with us and does good with us and does what they're supposed to, I mean, we've both dealt with companies like Acer. Acer was Johnny on the spot for about a year, and then all of a sudden they turned into a vapor and disappeared. We neither one of us have a crystal ball, and we can't see stuff like that coming. I try to stick to the facts of, is this a decent built machine? Does it work? Can the average person use it? And go from there. I can't really speak to, the the trustworthiness of the owners of the company and all that. I can't speak to. So,
well, yeah. It's also something that you may notice with mine as well is I'll sit on it a little bit longer. I'll put it through more paces, and I will tell you right now, don't expect me to have like a real review on the We Create out right away. I'll probably have like some, maybe short videos of it doing something here, maybe a project video of it doing it. But knowing some of the history with We Create, I want to make sure I really test and compare this one and get some hours on the machine. Because I mean, this goes back to my airplane stuff as well. I've had it go both ways where I've started out with a piece of equipment and I think it's horrible. It's junk, and until I get to learn some of its nuances or figure out that I did something wrong on the setup or whatnot, I could be wrong. But also on the flip side, I could think, hey, this is great. And then, you get 10 hours of use on it. And all of a sudden it's like, things are starting to break down, or, it's lifted up and down so many times, or the gantry's moved around so much. So I'm going to, especially with this one, I'm going to try to put some more time on it. I've been trying to even just run material tests on various things just to get some hours on the machine before I dump any information out there on it.
That's like that right there. All that is just me throwing materials at it, trying to make it move, cut stuff, make smoke, all that good stuff. And I have cut up a whole bunch of material today. And yesterday, it was yesterday is when I unboxed it. But I've been running it pretty much nonstop today. Mark L is saying one YouTube reviewer made a statement that 20 watts is a sweet spot of diode lasers. Those kinds of statements don't age well. You guys don't do that kind of thing. Well, I think it's like right now, currently, I mean, a 40 watt's kind of middle of the pack as far as a laser goes. A 40 watt, most of them can switch to 24. So I think, if you can afford it, if you can swing it, if you got the room for it, a 40 watt's a good go-to for the moment. Now, I'll tell you this, lasers in the past 2 years have evolved at rapid pace. And I consider that I think that it will continue to evolve. So, it's hard to say something like that in the video, like you said, because that video is going to be there for a year. Oh, we got a cat fight going on over there. The video is going to be there for a year, and it's, things can change. A 20 watt is a good machine, but every week it's getting, I see what it is. Biscuit done stuck his big head in the door. The cats are running for the hills. But you know, the machines change a lot. So
Yep.
Sam Craft, the ergonomics are terrible. Yes, I was complaining about that earlier. Now I will tell you this, Sam, in light burn, when you do a cut, it doesn't lift all the way back up afterwards. That's how it stays. Wherever you set the focus, it stays at that plane until you change it. But yeah, it is when you come over, especially like rolling in this chair, you got to stand up to reach over in there to get something out of it. It almost, like Steve said, it almost needs to be on like a knee-high stool to make it a little more ergonomic.
Yeah, so mine's, I mean, it's 12 inches down into the material with it back in its parked lid. So it's
well, see, this is light burn right here. So it operates a little different.
But most people are probably not going to use it that way.
Yeah, I really wish the front come up, like opened, like a little door, like a little oven door or something. That would be nice. But you know, whatever. It, like I said, it has its pros and cons, I guess. If you only have a 16-inch high table to put it on, it would work out perfectly. But yeah. What up, Sam? Hey, I was telling everybody I may come up there and try to find you here this summer now. I'm going to be reaching out to you possibly. My wife's talking about kids is wanting to go up to the mountains. So
that doesn't sound threatening at all.
I'm not talking about it in a bad way, Steve.
I'm going to come up there and find you, Sam.
No. Me and him, we done had this discussion. Biscuit, get your big head out of the cat door. That dog. Yeah. Ain't seen him all day. It's been raining. We create autumn. Ballard said that we create autumn. I mean, seriously, that is one of the drawbacks with it. Is it's like trying to reach over into one of them cabinet CNCs with the bed all the way down. I mean, it could be, especially for, you know, short people. Since I'm not short, I wouldn't know about that. But you know, Steve argues otherwise. But yeah, anyway, don't want to keep you guys. It's getting late. I got to work tomorrow. Still got that job for 178 days.
Yeah, but all you're doing is teaching other people your job.
Hey, that's very important. Like I just got one of our our property management softwares updated to this new software that even I don't know. So I've got to go through training on it, and then once I learn it, I've got to confirm that all the stuff from the other software migrated okay, and then I got to teach people how to use it. That's going to take me at least 2 or 3 weeks.
All right. Well, on that note, we've rolled over a good 23 minutes here. So,
yeah.
Anyway,
and it's still raining here, by the way.
Well, it's not here, but it's dropped down to 46 degrees. So, anyway, everybody, thanks again for another fun week. We'll, like I said, I got a bunch of stuff to get caught up on this week, so hopefully we'll be seeing some stuff. Otherwise, we'll be back here, same laser time, same laser channel, for that old reference for some of you. And but thanks everyone. Make sure you if you're a subscriber on one channel, not the other, you know, do us a favor and go hit those buttons and hit the likes, and you know, continue dropping those comments on there, because like Clack says, we got to help him build up that channel, keep his income coming, so he can make it in the shop and not have to become a Walmart greeter. So
yeah, I'm too big to be trying to live off ramen noodles.
But anyway,
I gotta have something with some protein in it. All right, guys, y'all be good, and see y'all next week. If not before then.
See you later.
Hopefully, I'll have at least a little video this week. So you guys be good.
All right, we'll see you.